So the way we see video game development in general, we usually talk about every area related to game development. We study programming, we study game design, game art, every single aspect of the game development process, just so we are able to, even in small teams, make a great game. And then later on the road, we specialize. So we will have groups with maybe one or two programmers, and then the rest of us are artists. But we all have the same background of studying everything, and that's how we like to see the process. Yeah, there is a possibility of a master's degree after the course we're doing, but this one we're doing right now, it's only 3 years, and if someone wants to pursue this career and keep studying it, there will be the possibility of a master's degree.
Okay, so hi. I'm gonna be the one starting our presentation. So first of all, we would like to thank everyone for this opportunity. It's an honor to be presenting here, and we would like to welcome to everyone to our presentation on culture gamification and how we balanced a tradition with the fun of playing a video game. So this is our team. We have myself as a game designer. We have André Santos as our programmer, Miguel Martinho as our artist, and Nelson Milheiro as our main sound designer. Okay, so this is what we'll look over. We'll start by a quick overview of our game. We'll introduce our tradition. We'll also explain how we selected a few things of that tradition and how we turned them into game mechanics. We'll also talk about our experience on gathering on-site references. We'll end on art, sound design, and a little bit of our prototype gameplay.
Okay, so we begin with a small technical overview. Our game is a casual exploration adventure with third-person perspective in single player, and the target platforms are Windows PC, PlayStation 4 and 5, and the Switch. In terms of the game setting, it is based on the villages of Schist in Lausanne in Portugal. And these villages are more on the countryside, in the middle of the mountains. So there's lots of vegetations, there's animals. And because we chose the festivity as an important thing, obviously the whole environment must reflect this, including the music. So as you can see in the background of the presentation, there are these small crowds of people. There's lots of movement and the animals. So in terms of the event itself, it is an old tradition from Lausanne here in Portugal, where the locals would disguise themselves in an unrecognizable fashion and use these masks. And they would go through each of the villages doing multiple mischievous things, making noise with as you can see in the images, the pans and anything they could get their hands on, or displacing objects, even sometimes like making small poems where they insult each other based on rumors that went through the village. So how do we turn this into a game, right? Well, we streamline the event, we grab the core aspects, and we define an end goal for our game. So in our case, the end goal is to go through each of the villages and experience different activities. And in the end, you go through the closing ceremony. That's the ending of the game. The core aspects are exploration as an experience. We want each of the villages and the different interactions the player has to be different. And so we do not wish to focus on replayability as much. The mask customization is also very important in this factor. So every player has a different experience, and the short dialogues and stories that you can make yourself according to the interactions you have with the NPCs. With this, we then simply have to narrow things down and come up with mechanics with which the player can interact with the world and the NPCs, which André will explain now.
Yeah, so before moving on, I just want to point out here that we're focusing on this one village for now. So by the end of the semester, we're only going to have one village, this vertical slice here, Agranova. And then the full plan would be to have all these 5 villages and have that night ceremony and all that. So let's focus on mechanics and turning real life events into something fun. So starting with the Cork Masks, I have a little picture here of like little more detail of what these Cork Masks are. They're a bit random. They just get pieces of cork and they have an artisan that works them for them. So how do we turn this into something fun to play as? I'm going to have this little GIF playing in the background here while I explain it. But basically, we have an artisan of the village, and we can call him at any time to basically retouch our mask. We can change the sliders here, change the shape, add objects that you find, and all of this adds some sort of replayability and customization to making like every player feel unique. Further down the road, we also like a way for players to compare their masks. The NPCs also are going to have different masks, and we think that this was the right approach to balance the main event, the main characteristic of the event, into the game. Also, these items that you place on the mask, they have importance. NPCs will react to them. Some require us to have some NPCs will have like a gang, like the horn gang, and if we don't have a horn, we can't be with them or something like that. So it's not purely cosmetic. So let's move on. Next up, we have nut gals. This is something that's kind of weird to explain, but they're little seeds. They're not very common here, but they would pick this up. We only see this sometimes, but they'd carry these little seeds in baskets and they throw it at people. It doesn't happen very often, but we thought it was fun. And so we have this kind of like very theatrical interaction where it doesn't really do much. It just scares them off and makes them throw it back. And that's literally all it does. It doesn't really matter to the end. Oh, get out of here. It doesn't really matter for progression or anything. It's just kind of a fun way to keep the player engaged with the NPCs. Next up, the Slingshot. So this is something that they actually don't use in the festivities, but it's one of those things that we wanted to put in the game because we thought it would be fun. Because we saw this advert about the tradition, and it looks pretty cool. So we thought, okay, let's have a slingshot. Let's make something with it. And the way it works basically is, let me just get my cat out of here. Sorry. The way it works is basically we aim around a little, and then we shoot things down to put on our mask. It's basically a means to an end to get more mask items. And I don't know, we just thought it would fit in our game, like with all the exploration. We can just hide the items in trees, roofs, whatever. And it just helps us a lot with game design. Next up, we have instruments. A big part of the festivities are the parties. They just kind of walk around in groups and play whatever they can. They don't play very well, they just play. So we wanted to grab that. And first off, we have a vuvuzela, which is kind of that pitching, annoying sound that just scares everyone off. If we do it behind someone, they'll actually do a little jump and like run off. Are you being annoying? And then we also have the concertina, which makes everyone play along with us and follow us. And right now, they all play the same song, but the idea is that they all play kind of different themes of the song, some not really in rhythm, and they're all just playing terribly but following along, and that's the whole idea of it. I'll show it. We'll show also how it is in the party a bit later. Now, another question about this is that not everything needs to be a mechanic, and we're talking about specifically about this thing, which are the hurtful rhymes that they do, which is pretty much the main event, where every village they stop, and like Miguel said, one of them will start roasting people. Basically, it's like a mini roast session, and they love that. It's like they get little how do you say it, rumors throughout the year, and then at the end, like at the carnival, they just spread it out and make fun of each other. And this is basically the main attraction. But when we thought about this, and we couldn't really fit it in our game, and the more we thought, the more complicated it seemed, we just decided not to put it in at all and control game scope that way. So we have a concise game with fewer mechanics, but more executable in the long term. Oh, yeah, sorry. A little example. I don't know if you can hear it. Probably don't understand it. Yeah, that was it. Now, speaking about gathering references, we actually had a field trip to Lausanne. We're not from Lausanne, we're from Cascais, which is 3 hours away. We had a field trip supported by Lusofna and our director, Filipe Luz, and neither of us had a car at the time, so they borrowed us actually a Lusofna van, which is kind of cool. And Afonso had to drive that. He loved it, kind of.
I
And
hated it.
basically, the objective of this trip was to get not visual references, because we had that a lot. We had those from Google. We knew what it looked like, but we didn't know what the scale of it was. So we had maps, and we would trace over the maps, and then it'd be like, okay, but how big is it? And it was only when we went there that we saw it was actually much bigger than we anticipated. And we took a bunch of these scale photos where we just put one of us in the photo so we can see, okay, how big is this? And we just go around we went around like 4 villages or something, and we took a bunch of pictures. I'm going to show some more here. We just explored a bunch, basically. It was a weekend, and it was fun. I mean, you can see we have this. There's just a few examples. But we basically went for architecture, um, mountain views, shades of colors, all that. And we had fun doing it as well. I mean, it wasn't a wasted weekend. Um, we visit things, we post this on our LinkedIn's. It was like, I mean, the director liked it because it's not very often that video games students go out and do research trips. So it was actually a fun experience for us as well.
And so, talking about a bit of the art style. So, we took those photos. We went to Lausanne to see what kind of place it was. Like André said, to get kind of the scale of what everything was, to see how big it was. It is, but we also took the chance to study some of the textures and some more of the actual study the color of the actual villages while we were there, because it's obviously way more easy to see uh, in person rather than in the photos. So we've decided in the end to make the game as low poly, very low polygons. We don't want that very realistic look, but we're still gonna use these desaturated colors, because if you saw on those photos that we took, most of the colors were pretty gray. They didn't really shine. Most of those was this, unless the sun was hitting it directly, it didn't really pop out. So this was the best decision for our art. We also have a lot of obviously rural vegetation, because all the villages and the surrounding parts all have a lot of trees, all have a lot of grass and flowers. So we wanted to get all that in to the village of Agranova that we're making in the game. Um, and a bit about the characters. So we didn't want to make realistic humans, and we thought the most important parts of our game and of the tradition itself are the Cork Masks themselves. So we decided to make the bodies with small limbs in general, small legs and arms, and we just made their heads huge in comparison to better emphasize the masks and put the masks on how do you say, on the spotlight for everyone to see, to be able to see, to be able to admire, and obviously to customize more easily. and a bit of the sound design. So obviously, we're in the middle of a party, we're in the middle of some festivities. So we want a lot of noise, we want people talking, we want people playing instruments that they do in the actual festivities. But in contrast with the general peaceful and laid back mood of the rural countryside of Portugal and Lausanne. So it was a bit difficult to get that balance in the sounds. But I think I'm still working on it, but I think we did a pretty good job. But yeah, most of the sounds that you'll hear in the game are animals, like birds chirping and sometimes some roosters. Um, you can hear the wind blowing in the trees and the grass swaying in the wind, but mixed with the sounds of general people talking and instruments playing in the background as well.
Okay, so I'm just gonna play a little example here of the music. Okay, let's move on. So for a prototype, I think we have some time. We'll just be playing along. Let me just put some sound on this. Hold up. Cannot. I cannot put sound on this. Great. Hold up. Wow. Up. Why can't I? Yeah, okay, whatever.
We'll just imagine it.
Yeah. It's weird because it's not selecting. Okay, anyway. Here's our prototype. I'll try and get the sound fixed. Hold up, let me just... You can...
Okay,
you can
while
talk
he fixes the sound, we would like to everyone to keep in mind this is still a very early prototype, so it's not final. We simply have the rough shape of the mountains. We have some capsules instead of our final little humans that go around there. And we still only have a portion of the village actually implemented. I'll just keep saying things until the sound is fixed.
I'm busy.
So, how's that going?
Not great.
We can literally just imagine it.
For how long have you been making the game, and how many people are involved?
We are 4 people. The everyone that's presenting this, and we basically are we are divided, like we said. Each one of us has our own function. Confess that we are a little bit late. These vacations and some problems really put a stop on the project for a little while, but we still think that we can deliver something solid by the end.
Yeah, you
It
can
looks
keep asking
promising. I
questions.
like it.
Thank you. You can keep asking questions if you want. Whoever asks questions, we'll just be playing along, showing you things. So if you want to do the Q&A now, we can do that.
Oh, yeah.
Also, is this too loud, the game, or not?
Higher.
Okay. Is better?
Yes.
More.
I can put a bit more. Okay. As long as it doesn't overlap us talking, that's fine, right?
Yeah, it's good.
So-
We can hear the music. Okay, so here we are. It's still not implemented, but we'll have a little bit of a cutscene of our main character coming in a little truck or a bus that's stuck there, trying to make the turn, but is stuck. Of a little bus coming to the village to introduce the player to the actual concept of what he's doing. So it is our first beautiful village, Igra Nova. André is there picking up some ornaments to put on his mask. Of course, the places of the ornaments are not final. We have a little inventory. André is gonna go to the mask customization, yes? Okay, here we have our beautiful dialogue. Our dialogue is simple. We try to keep it short, like someone's texting. Those short sentences that go straight to the point. However, they are easier to read and more approachable. You might even relate to some of the dialogue as you read it. So, Jay's gonna go. So there's our mask editor. André can just move some stuff around and make stuff. As you can see, the mask is almost completely changeable. You can make the mask bigger, smaller, change the eyes, the mouth. We want to give the players some freedom and enable them to create something that's actually unique and their own.
Hmm.
So that's a spooky mask.
Yeah, I'll just go with this.
There we go. This is our cosmetics. They fall on the
This is
table.
what we picked up.
Yes, you can pick them up, put them whenever you like, as long as it is on the
Go
mask.
with that.
There we go. That's perfect. We can also change the texture. We don't know if we're gonna keep that final details thing, but we have it still for now. So you can see the mask on our player. Now, there I try to enter the village.
Yeah.
So basically, since the mask is the main focus, we thought that we would use that to kind of lock the player into a mini tutorial to make sure that he knows the basics before venturing forth. So our little guardian says to the player that his mask is still not there yet, up to the standards of the village. So he tells them to go explore, try to find something to put on your mask. And there you go, the kids love it. So André will just go here and talk to a little boy who's, imagine it's a boy, who's trying to hit a target that's on the tree.
Yeah,
Imagine
also
that it's
imagine
trying
him hitting
him also imagine him trying to hit something on the tree. And André approaches him and talks to him. And after a little bit of a conversation, the character gives André, the player, the slingshot, and you can just hit the target.
We're missing some things here, like, the projectile and all, but it's a work in progress.
Yes. Prototype. Word of the day, it's a prototype. So basically, after this little interaction, not so little, okay,
Just take
Andrea
it.
picks it up, just goes to the mask, and can just put it right on. One thing that Andrea will receive right now, it's the whistle. As we intend to use the mask as a main focus of the game, such as it's needed to complete some quests, and the actual NPCs or participants of the tradition will react to it. We want to give the player some accessibility to the mask customization. So we give them a whistle that allows the player to call the mask guy to customize his mask. They're creating another beautiful work of art. Yes, perfect. Yes. There we go. As you can see, he has a whistle now, and he can change in his inventory his tool. It's what we call them. André will go talk to a little guard over here who really hates troublemakers, so he's trying to make sure everyone has a pretty decent mask. Okay, now here we are entering one of the parts of the village that it's super not implemented, so
Yep.
try not to judge us too hard. Basically, André, can you get the instruments? Oh, right, the nutgalls. This little kid will give the players some nutgalls, which are very fun in my opinion, because you throw them at people and they throw it back, but you can also generate a battle. André will try to demonstrate it. We love the chaos of it. I don't think it was intended to happen, but it happened. So
Oh, this might break, by the way.
Nah, it won't break it. As you can see, they are now throwing it at each other because they simply hate each other now. I think that was a mistake, but it's funny, so we kept it. Now they're putting the hood up, saying, "Hey, that's enough," and they'll be immune for a little while. Andrea's gonna go down here, pick up the concertina, which is not gonna be here at the final
Oh, it's gonna be
product,
super
but
loud.
let's ignore that.
Yeah, okay, I can't play that.
It's super loud, but that's fine. Play it for a little bit.
I'm gonna play it for a little, but it's super loud
Just a little.
in this version.
It's not that loud.
Loud for me.
Oh yeah, for you it should be destroying your ears. But as you can see, they follow along. And I make them follow along. So for a little bit. And they play along. The ones that talk to us usually are stationary, so they won't follow us around. André, go to the old lady, pretty please.
Okay.
This Slingshot will not only be used for the cosmetics, we will also use it in quests. For example, this old lady has a hat stuck on the roof. Imagine it's a roof. Stuck on the roof because of all of the wind. So the player can use the Slingshot to help the old lady out, and she will give the player a rose which can be used in other thing. So pop, that falls, pick it up, give it to the lady. We'll end on showing our last instrument. It's the marvelous vuvuzela. We'll just end
just
this
skip
conversation with the old lady. She's very grateful. Gives the player a rose. There it is. We just go.
Don't mind this.
Yes, ignore the floating things. It's a feature, not a bug. There we go. There's this little guy asks the player to find some binoculars. André already grabbed them. So André gives them the binoculars, and soon enough, he wants the binoculars to look at the sun. Yes, don't ask. There you go. Our marvelous Vuvuzela. André goes to those little guys to show off that they do not like this. And they run away.
That's it, pretty much.
This is pretty much our main mechanics. Now, what we're going to try is to mix them, play with them, and pretty much work the design of the game and try to create something interesting. So, all right, and we save and load progress because it makes sense. So, Dre, go to the last slide, and we would like to thank you all for your attention. We have our social medias there, the projects and ours. We are all on LinkedIn. The project is on Twitter, Iniciados Games, LinkedIn, and IndieDB. Thank you very much. Any questions, please ask.
Okay, thank you for presentation. I would wish our students to switch on the camera for a moment to have information who everybody from our students are here in this moment. And before I put them a possibility to ask you something, I have special question for every member of this group. I repeat it later with another group, and this question is about your career. How you started to interest about video games, and the second question, how do you see your future? If it is a very light future with a great perspective, or it is just fight for job, or if do you see some possibility to in future to be a separate production little company or group of students that will try to make money on a global market? So please in some order, André, first the answer.
Okay, sure. So I got into video games, obviously, like everyone did, playing. But the degree itself, I actually started in computer science. I think it's translated that way.
Yeah.
And after 1 year, I quit because I was away from home. I just wasn't a good here, so I ended up quitting. It wasn't hard or anything. I mean, it was hard, but it just wasn't for me. And yeah, after quitting, I had to do something, so I ended up discovering this degree in video games, which obviously caught my attention. Also worried me a little because a degree in video games isn't something super common to see. So you ask yourself those questions like, if you can work after, like if you can get a job after the degree in video games. And so that's kind of the follow-up answer, which is, yeah, I think I'll be all right. I mean, in the third year, we already set up our LinkedIn and all that, and I've already got some prepositions from IT, not really video games related, but I already have some things on IT. So I'm not really worried about finding a job. I'm worried about finding a job in video games that I like. But I'm thinking about wait, am I connected? Everyone's lagging for me.
Yeah,
Okay, I
you're,
think
you're
I'm
good.
You're fine
You're
for
good.
us.
You're good.
because everyone's frozen for me.
Now we just stop moving.
But yeah, my plan is to immigrate. Because yeah, I plan on being on a AAA company, and in Portugal we don't really have any of those. So yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, another question, if you mentioned you plan to emigrate, where do you want to emigrate?
Oh, wherever they'll have me. But I'm thinking Poland for now. I mean, I really like Poland. I like Northern Europe a lot. So Poland is one of my things right now.
Great, it's a very interesting idea. I like it. Tomorrow, for example, we'll hear and see Alesha. I don't know if she is connected now in this moment. She said that she will come for a moment. And this Alesha is, for example, immigrant from Belarus several years ago, and now she's in Finland and she wants to stay there forever, you know. So there are a lot of countries that are very interesting for your probably future career. So I like the idea. I know that Poland is very great for from side of professional offers for visual effects, for for game design and so on. So I like this idea. Thank you. The same question for Nelson.
Me?
Yes.
So, like André, I started, my interest in video games very little. I think my dad introduced me to the first PS1, and since then it's been I've been playing all the time. And I had finished I had finished school, and I needed first I needed to find a job, and then I needed to do something with myself because I didn't really know what I wanted to be yet at that time. So first I tried to get into a course, but didn't really work out. After that, I found a small uh, course on game design, and that's also where I met Miguel there. I found this course on game design, and I did it for, I think it was 6 months. It was a really small course, but after that, our teacher referenced this video game course on Lusofna. And after thinking about it, I just came there, and on my third year now, so I think it's going pretty good.
So you will not leave Portugal, and you will stay in Portugal, and you will try to get job in.
Oh, probably not. Probably not. As much as I like to, I know that the video game industry here is still not that strong, and I've been searching a lot for jobs here, but specifically in sound design, which is also where I want to specialize now, that I actually found that I really liked sound design in this course. Um, but yeah, I tried looking for some jobs in this area, but there really isn't any, at least in Portugal. So yeah, I think I don't know yet specifically where I want to go, but I know that it's not in Portugal, unfortunately.
Can you imagine, for example, Canada or Australia?
Very maybe. I can imagine anywhere. I still have a lot of research to do. I really like to make sure I'm doing every decision. I like to map it out in my head and to do research and be sure that what I'm doing is right. So I still have a lot to do. But maybe, I don't know. I still have a lot to research.
Yes, what I have a great experience is Canada, that Canada is still welcoming interesting people. And it's, from my opinion, it's not seems very hard to get possibility to live there forever. Much easier, much easier as, for example, America or so. So it is just a kind of idea. Please, the same question for Alfonso.
Hi. So basically, surprise, surprise, I played video games when I was little. Um, I got an interest in video games since I was, 5 years old, playing PS2, the little Shrek game. I don't know if anyone played it. So basically, that was something that accompanied me all my life. However, I actually, before I'm in video games, I was in law here at Lusofna. Oh, and it's really funny because when I was there to, well, enter the degree, I saw a little pamphlet that said video games. I was like, oh, that's very interesting. Anyway, and I went to law. After a year, I I knew that I wouldn't actually. I didn't feel like I fitted in, like I belonged there. It wasn't part of me. So I really remember the professor was talking about how everyone were like at least 50% of us were gonna give up and go a different direction in life. And as he was saying that, I was Googling the video game degree at Lusofna. I was on my PC and I was like, video game degree, Lusofna. Oh, he's right. I'm gonna switch right now. So after that year, I finished it. I had some pretty decent grades actually, and I switched over to video games. I don't regret it. It's so much better when you actually relate to something. It's you you don't really imagine it. But about what's after the degree, unlike my friend Nelson, I have no clue what I'm gonna do. I'm still gonna start. I'm already started, but I'm trying to find places to do an internship. It's something that we all do here at the third grade, and I guess I'll just see what happens after that. I've learned that sometimes if you even plan something, your life will change. I was in law, and my life changed a lot in these last 4 years. So I'm not really a big planner, despite having a bullet planner literally right there. But I like to improvise sometimes, and it actually works out great if you just have faith in yourself and just go.
Excellent. I see very high optimism. So it's great that you can be adaptable for new offers or situations. So it's great. I think the same it is with our students, that they are prepared really to find this little possibilities that the target can get us, and they can get good job. So generally, if I'm speaking about our graduates from mainly department visual effects, so everybody of them have job. So it is great information for me. They never went to some office to find who will employ me. Yes, so all the time they are accessible for industry. Okay, the same question for Miguel.
Yeah, so well, I also fell in love with games pretty much in the same way, with a small difference, which I had a lot more influence from my dad, because before I actually started playing video games, I'd mostly just watch him actually play video games. He was playing Elden Ring recently, and So it's very cool to just have him play and even be curious about the work I'm doing. And then coming into the course was during my 12th grade. Before finishing school, I did the course with Nelson in game design in the Lisbon School of Design. And the teacher there, Wilson Almeida, he told us about Zofna. So yeah, I really enjoyed working with the Unity engine in that course. And so I thought, like, yeah, this is what I want. I would like to do more of this. So I went to Zofna.
Yes, and do you think that you will want to take also magister project, master project, master studies?
I'm not particularly interested in, no, especially because it's mostly in game design, and I like to focus more on the art side of things. So yeah, in terms of like future, I'm also open for relocation, and the main places. The top one would be Sweden. I would like to go to Sweden because there's lots of game company there, and it seems like a really cool place. After that, maybe like either London or the States, England, I mean, or the States. One of those two would be nice as well.
It's great. So I understand that possibility to work on some games in the game industry, for example, by internet on your own computer, and to work for some external company, it is probably very difficult.
I'd say yeah, it's difficult, but it's in the end it doesn't. I guess it doesn't fall too far from freelance. So I think I would gladly take a job that way as well. But I do prefer things like on the actual physical workplace.
Okay, so thank you for the first round of questions. Now it's time to put a question for our students regarding your project. So I would ask Adam Churko about his question.
Well, question I was like wondering about the whole game. Like, I already asked like how big it is, but for around marketing, will it be like available sometime? Like, will you be selling it, or how is it going to turn out?
Our main plan is to actually go to Lausanne and try to try to sell it into their museums. Of course, the game will be available online in HIO. We also, if you want to keep up with our game, you can just follow our Indie TV. I'm gonna put a shameless plug right here, or our Twitter. We update, we give updates every single week, or we try to at least. And basically, our plan is to try and sell it to the. I'm missing the words in English. Sell it to
It's okay.
to the people that govern Lausanne, and try and allow us to put our games in the museum, obtain some type of European fund, because we know that Europe likes to give funds to people that produce content related to culture. And of course, in each IO, we'll try to put the vertical slice that we are actually currently working on. And if we actually get funding, we would very much like to proceed with this project because we think it can actually be something different and fun and unique.
Okay, thank you for answer. Next question will put Samuel Kozak. He's a student of the second class of game design, so not visual effects, but game design. Samuel?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. So my question would be, what has been the biggest challenge so far when gamifying a tradition that has been going on for who knows how many years now?
Something that we actually had a little bit of trouble with. Actually, our group always has a little bit of trouble, is trying to come up with a concept that we actually think that can be worked and can be fun. We had, before we actually came to this grounded approach of the tradition, we tried to mystify the thing a little bit. We had magic powers to the mask and the different ornaments to different things, and it was a platformer. But we realized that we might be complicating it a little bit too much. So approach that we try to do is to keep it simple, because simple things are actually fun. A game that we actually took as a reference is A Short Hike. It's a really great exploration game. We strongly recommend it. I can see some of you actually recognize it, but we tried to capture the actual exploration aspect, because when we were there, we really enjoyed exploring the place. We literally went into the middle of the forest. We didn't know it was actually getting dark, and we got lost. Luge, please cover your ears. We got super lost in the middle of the night, but it was fun, and we thought to capture that experience that we had and try to putting it in the game. And we really think that if you can have some contact with the subject of your game, it will help you a lot in coming up with an idea of what you want the game to be. But generally, keep it simple. Make a simple yet fun game. Don't try to put a lot of things in it. It's like cooking. I don't cook, but I imagine that it's like this. If you put too much stuff, it will taste bad. So keep it simple. Make some French toast, a little bit of soup, and it will work out great.
Okay, thank you once more for a very optimistic answer. Next question will put Barbara Kubishova. She is student of the first class of game design. And please to answer somebody else from your group to hear a different point of view. Barbara?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, so my question would be like, what did you personally enjoy the most on that project? Like, whoever wants to answer that question, like, there always is some work that has to be done, either if you don't like really like it that much, but what has been the thing you like the most on the work? Yeah.
At least for me, it was making the music. Every song you heard in the game, it was actually me who composed it. Uh, I started composing songs literally like last year in the middle of the semester. And I discovered this love for actually making songs and the audio design and stuff. And in the other project we had, I only composed one song and one variation of it. In this project, I actually got to work on multiple of them, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I hope if you listen to it, you'll enjoy it too. That's me.
I want to add the next question on your answer. Can you imagine that you can compose your music for real instruments, for orchestra or some?
Oh no. Okay. So I recently went to this talk about it was about a famous composer. Hold on. And she was talking about she had this amazing background since she was little of actually composing and managing orchestras. For now, with the little experience I have, uh, composing songs with 4 instruments is more than enough for me. Actually managing an orchestra and giving tempo to all of it, it sounds, first it sounds stressful, it is hard, and I need way more experience. But in the future, maybe. I'm still learning from it. I want to learn more about the art of composing songs. So eventually, hopefully, I will be able to manage my own orchestra and compose epic, grand songs for AAA games and all that.
If I have to continue in your thinking, so on our school we have faculty of music. There are students of every instrument that you can imagine, and there is also a department of composing. And for future, for our students, I plan that they will have in their games real music from orchestra, for example. Not just electronic, but really violins or piano or so what it will be. So it is all this goal that as you could understand from presentation from Samuel Pucholski. So our main goal are games that are very realistic, and this realistic feeling from picture, from sound, from atmosphere. So we want to get to our games in future and to put together film industry and game disaster industry together. So it is goal, I will see. But Barbara asked all four members. So next one who will answer on her question.
So for me personally, I had the most fun at the start of the project when I basically we came up with the idea of the mask editor, but back then I didn't actually. I wasn't feeling like doing art at the moment, and we didn't really have a proper game concept. So I started programming the mask editor, which André then like refurbished and upgraded with good code instead of my spaghetti. But I had a lot of fun working that out. That was the best part for me.
Okay, thank you, Afonso.
Actually, the part that I found the most fun was actually going there because it's something unique and different that we never did before, and actually just going there, adventuring, capturing the references, getting lost in the mountain in the middle of the night, staying, watch, going there and realizing we didn't have any phone signal, so we couldn't have internet, so we couldn't work, so we just watched the movie. We had some downloaded movies, so we watched that, and it's because it was so different and unique that I think it's what captivated me the most. However, I still also find very much enjoyment in something that we do, which is the social media aspect of it. We try to publish weekly IndieDB articles. We try to stay at least somewhat present in our Twitter, and basically the old background things I also find extremely fun. And I also found an unknown love for Jira. I don't know if everyone knows. It's a little bit of project management software, and I don't know why. I just love it, and it's something new and that I just love. André.
Okay, thank you, André.
Okay, so I'm the programmer, but the part that I'm actually liking the most is when I'm done programming, I'll go and write a bit of dialogue and like implement the dialogue. And I think that's what I'm having the most fun with, is just writing dialogue and seeing it happen. Yeah, even though I'm programming. But I would say dialogue for sure. That's it.
Okay, so if you mention this dialogue, so the first that I got from these titles in your game was that probably if our students will make this type of game, so I would let them not to use just written dialogue, but voice dialogue. So really to record actors, actresses, and maybe to do it together also with written dialogues and also voice dialogues. But generally, I think that for some age of or if you are looking on a main characterization of man is that he's lazy, so everybody is lazy, and making games means to accept this characterization and to read dialogues means some effort, some work for player. So for me, it is much more easier to hear some kind of dialogue. What do you think?
No, I get it. We thought about having obviously spoken dialogue. But once we saw the scale of it, and with our time, we just didn't see it as a possibility. So we had this sort of Undertale sound of dialogue. And also, we took great inspiration from that game, Short Hike, which has that little sound for dialogue. And we just thought it was fun. And because we have such short messages, right now it's a little hard to read still. It's a work in progress. But the idea is that the short messages that look like texts become easier and easier to like take in so it doesn't get tiring.